How's it going? I need to give myself a few moments so I don't get cut off when I first start talking, as often happens when I do this. So what we're dealing with here in this card is the Millennium crossover event from 1988. So we're looking at 3 years after Crisis, which is the big DC, the first of the many DC crossover events that have never ended. But Millennium was the third. It was Crisis, Millennium. No. Sorry, back. Crisis, Legends, Millennium. I don't know what happened after Millennium. Maybe Invasion. That's when the aliens showed up. So that's 4 years. And then I don't know what happens after that. We have a whole bunch. After that is like Armageddon 2001, War of the Gods, and then it just becomes. Then I get lost. But Millennium was a big deal at the time because like every book crossed over in it somehow. Even Legion, which was set, of course, in the 30th century, and Young All Stars at the time, which was set in World War II, they also had a role to play. And it was pretty awesome. Now, the story itself kind of was a fizzled storyline, but it was pretty awesome each week just to read this continuing narrative. And in every comic was marked as a Millennium crossover. I liked it. I don't think it's ever going to see the light of day in an Omni, and it should, because it was just 8 weeks, and that was it. And then, like in week 4, you had this entire. It was a interlocking narrative crossover with like Suicide Squad and Batman, Firestorm in the John Ostrander Firestorm run from 1987 to maybe 1991. That deserves to see the light of day. That is an excellent run. I love it because we no longer have Ronnie Raymond. We have a larger Firestorm construct. It's very influenced by Alan Moore's Swamp Thing at the time. It has some Silver Surfer vibes because it's the conscience of Martin Stein, but he has amnesia. And then he is Firestorm. And then also in the Matrix, it was this Russian nuclear-based being because, I don't know. Now I'm just going to talk about John Ostrander's Firestorm right now. So Ostrander starts to run on Firestorm, taken away from Gary Conway, which was very much nothing wrong with Gary Conway, but it was very much like just a teenage angst book, like in the tradition of the old Spideys, which of course Conway once wrote as well. And Conway made that character in the 70s, and he'd been writing it all the way up till 1986 or so. So that's fine too. But anyway, Stein finds out he has maybe brain cancer or some form of cancer, and what he wants to do is he wants to rid the world of nuclear weapons. If only he was successful, right? But then and so he does that, and of course he's irritating some powers that be, right? So they have this big standoff in the desert with the Russian being, and then a big nuclear explosion, and then that merges that nuclear-oriented being into the larger Firestorm Matrix. And so you've got Ronnie Raymond and Stein, and I think his name was McCall something. I don't know what the last name was on that. And it creates this matrix. The matrix, which would be used later on. You see versions of it in the 2000s with Jason Roach, maybe. So anyway, it was a great run. It was a great run, and at the end, I don't think was it Ostrander still writing it at the end. I feel like he was, but he takes the elemental aspect. I'm confusing it with the Captain Atom. Captain Atom is somewhat similar, where you see Firestorm become an elemental, and then Firestorm and Captain Atom become linked a bit, and post-crisis continuity with the Carrie Bates run of Captain Atom from 1986 to maybe 92. And that ends quickly enough where Captain Atom also is like an atomic elemental. I don't think that's ever explored with the character, again, to our misfortune. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on go and read or find or how do we get a DC or someone to. And I know you could read them all online and on your tablet, and it's an experience, and I appreciate those who do it. I would like an Omni that I can sit and flip through. My 2 cents. All right, so let's get back to Millennium. Let me give my thoughts on Millennium because this is right in my wheelhouse. I mean, this is where this is long-term geek-out memory stuff for me. So Joe Stanton. Joe Stanton was doing the art. I am blanking on who wrote it. Maybe a long last name that starts with E, but not Steve Englehart. It's someone else. So the Manhunters came out of, I don't think we're going to do any trivia. I'm ready to talk about Millennium, and I'm going to get going. So this doesn't look like a trivia day. This looks like Dave's just going to just geek out on Millennium and tell you the whole story, like we're by a fire, So the Manhunters come out of Green Lantern. They were the former space cops, predating not predating the Guardians. The Guardians put the Manhunters together. But they predate the Corps. They predate the Green Lantern Corps, and they're just androids, right? But I don't know what the problem with the androids became. They like most androids, right? They took on personalities of their own. They began to question the Guardians and their place, and they just wanted to be kind of pretty not Law and Order, but emphasis on the order, right? Cosmic cops. And then they kind of laid low for a while through the Millennium, hence Millennium. Well, Millennium's for something else, right? I'll get to how it ends. It ends, the ending is kind of doesn't make sense. But I'm talking about. So they're hiding out for thousands and thousands of eons or whatever. And because they're androids, they can kind of take on human form. And suddenly we're aware that they're about to attack. Things are going to get serious, right? And so you have all these Manhunter sleeper agents come out, and all our heroes are affected, and it's a big effect too. I mean, even for a big crossover event that no one talks about much or has anything good to say about it, it fundamentally impacted most every book. Because I think the mandate was you've got to have one of your ancillary characters. They've got to be a bad guy suddenly, regardless of what storyline you have going on. Now, I'm really it's going through my head now. So what comes to, there's a big one that comes to mind that I'll wait till the end to. But so the Outsiders had this scientist that was always in the book, and then she becomes the one that's evil. In the Legion of Superheroes, which was again 1,000 years later, you had like the last of the Manhunters, which was the Laurel Kent character that difficult to do anything with anyway, and so she became the Manhunter. You saw early versions of Manhunter in World War II. In fact, that's where the Manhunter character kind of comes out of. That took place in Young All-Stars. I don't know. In one book, Nancy Reagan was the Manhunter. A Manhunter, android. Which is just perfect, right? But the biggest impact, I don't know who was the Manhunter in Batman. Maybe it didn't happen in Batman's world, but everybody else kind of said it. Rocket Red 7 and Justice League International, which was still a great read. But the biggest impact, I think, was on the Superman books at the time. This was the John Byrne Superman run. We're maybe year 2 into it. And the entire town of Smallville has always been populated by Manhunters. That's huge. Now, I don't know how it kind of landed like a decade later, but there was there was the World of Smallville miniseries that they did on this. And, this was a huge thing. You have your entire town full of Manhunter androids. And it's pretty, it's kind of spooky, because they're all kind of like walking like zombies. And it's a good read, what was done with that. And not just John Byrne. I think Wolfman might have been writing. or even Roger Stern at that time, but I could be wrong. Jerry Ordway was doing art on Adventures, while Byrne was doing art and a great collection. These are found in there are 4 volumes in trades, and I think they have the hardcover versions of it too. But I think that might be the lasting impact of Millennium, but it's hardly lasting any longer, right? Because things change all the time. So anyway, so that's the big fun. We have some folks going to space, and each book still got to take on its individual personality. I mean, the existing storylines were still going, but you got to see the contrast. So like the biggest book, at least for me at the time, was the JLI comedy run, the snarky comedy run. And you still got to see that in that book with old fuddy-dud Hawkman just being pissed off the whole time. Oh, this is such a great read. And that crossed over to a couple other cosmic books, or not cosmic books, but I think Captain Atom and others that took on that aesthetic they were going through at the time. Millennium is worth another look, if only because it has the specific time capsule view of what was going on in all these interlocking crossover books. I don't think it was ever repeated the same way again. Now, the bad news about Millennium is that there wasn't a lot of payoff, because at the end of the day, I don't think these Manhunter androids were as threatening as we all thought they would be. I don't know if it was hugely cosmic significance going on here. And it kind of fizzles out. And they also did this, they brought back Harbinger, they brought back Pariah, and they were attempting to create this like new breed of humans at the end of it, because that was the whole Millennium thing that I think the Manhunters were attempting to stop, like a human evolution idea. Think back to the TNG 3rd season episode Metamorphosis. No, not Metamorphosis. Transfigurations. That's that one. And it was kind of like that. It was kind of like I'm going to become a transcendent life form. Or also think about like a season 2 Lower Decks episode on TNG. Anyway, that was the whole thing about Millennium. I don't know how it as fun as it was, and it was fun, and I don't. Part of me wonders if I saved every Millennium issue that I bought, or had bought for me, obviously, because in 1988 I'm still a kid. But yeah, a lot of fun. I'd recommend Millennium. This is the comic deep dive today on the fun I had reading Millennium and Firestorm. Now, I've been talking all this time, just geeking out about it. Let's see what the other back of the card has to say about it. Let's see anything I missed. So yeah, January. There's only 2 months. Wow. Those were fun 2 months. It was so fun each week. See, you get to understand. I went to the local comic shop, and each week they were all labeled week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and it was a great time. So shock follows shock when Earth superheroes realize that even those closest to them may be in fact agents of the all-seeing, all-knowing Manhunters. Monitored by androids who pose as their closest friends, the heroes must race to prevent these methodical murderers of the chosen ones. So yeah, it's all about who are these chosen ones. Despite their best efforts, 2 of the chosen are slain. Superheroes switch to their strategy. 2 armies divide. Spectre, Suicide Squad destroy the Earth base. Justice League invade their home planet with a vengeance, and hilarity ensues. I say that enough. You think I wouldn't be? Anyway, fricatives aren't all right. Somebody should call DC. Anybody, and let's see if we can get Millennium in an Omni form. You could have a limited run, right? I don't think you're going to have a huge audience for it. But I think it was a lot of fun. So those are my thoughts on Millennium. And once again, I'm liking that one non-trivia comic card can be enough to geek out on for like 10 minutes or so. So it's been a good day as far as that goes. So hey, until next time, to be continued. Until next time.